Hello and welcome to Coming Home with Mama T. I'm your host, Tiara, aka Mama T, and on this podcast, we explore the journey of creating the life of our desires through mastering manifestation, maintaining a positive mindset, and living luxuriously. And today we have a very, very special guest. We have the lovely Porscha Newton here to share her journey and her experiences and help us to live even more extraordinarily in the body. So, Porscha, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, love that. I love that intro. So soothing. So my name is Porscha. I am a somatic sacred sexologist. I really bring in the psychology behind human sexual behavior and the somatic connecting to the sensuality, as well as capturing it with the metaphysics of sex, aka Tantra. We're just really blending it all together to really create a holistic approach to sexuality to help women with common intimacy issues that stem from trauma. So there's a couple of ways that I do that through retreats, programs, and, things like this, beautiful conversations that we get to start that come from, all of it. So I just am so happy to be here and a part of this moment, and luxury and vagina, I feel like it's a very good conversation.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, when I think of luxury, like you're definitely someone that comes to mind. I love watching your content. I love there's so much sensuality and embodiment. And then not to mention the aesthetic is always on point. So you got to follow. If you're not following Porscha, you need to be following her because amazing. And so with that, I want to kind of take this conversation towards embodiment. So can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to this place of being able to feel so good and I think when I see you, I think luscious, decadence, yes. How did you get to this space?
Well, my journey was very different than most women, but I feel like it was very the same. We learn at a very young age to project out of our bodies, to ignore, what's really going on. The first time that we decide to, stick up for ourselves or, really advocate for what's happening to us, it's like we're silenced at such a young age. And so we grow up thinking that that's normal, and our moms do it and they tell us it's normal, and grandma did it and aunts do it. So it just becomes this thing where we just override our body from them. I mean, I remember having the worst periods. I had the worst bleeds. I would be completely bloated, just crampy, heavy bleeding. It was awful. I would just stay home. I would just forget it, And I was taught how to override all of that, and I'm sure all of us were, right? Stick through it. Go take a Tylenol. It's normal. You still got to go to school. You still got to go to work. Whatever. You still got to do it. And watching my mom too. She was a single mom, and she just never stopped. She just would go. So I grew up with that message, like most of us. And so being the first child, should I say, not the only, there's 5 of us. I took on that responsibility role really young, and it just became something that I just was the harder you work, the more that you work, the more that you show up, the more perfect you are, the more that you can hold it all for your entire family. I kind of grew up with that idea, which led me down a path of really becoming a people pleaser, but not in the way that people would think. It really came down to family, and how many of us have those wounds of we would do anything for our family, and that's where it just kind of led me on this path. So I became a sex worker and a stripper, and I think that really was a path that I was called to, and for specific reasons of just being able to feel very empowered. Most people get a sob story of some women who choose that path, and I think it's a little bit of both. I was fully in liberation mode in my 20s. It was making all of this money, living very beautifully, just enjoying. I always grew up poor, so going to these restaurants sometimes. I remember my first time coming to Vegas, it was this stuff exists. I couldn't
Right.
believe it, right? I just couldn't believe it. And so I was always an ambitious child, so it was just was very ambitious. I played that role for a while, and it just came to a point where something I knew I was leaning towards something more, but I just didn't know how to get there. And coming home to my body is what got me to the next point. It really allowed me to see that I was thinking too much in my logical mind. I was really surviving, and I really wasn't home. And my God, when I came home, I was like, I found this like deep reverence for myself, but also like such grace of like, whoa, like some of us look at our past and I don't care what it is that you've been through, like you're just like, how did I do that? You know, like, and I think sometimes we forget like the miracles that we are, you know, not only for ourselves, but to other people. And so it just, I knew that it was a space that, even though it came with some darkness and it came with some, sorry, I'm burning like Kapal and it's all up my nose. Like I thought it was gonna be a gentle burn. It is not gentle. Like, but it really allowed me to see life in so many perspectives. It also allowed me to see like who I really wanted to help. You know, I have such a like love for the woman who just doesn't know what it feels like to be in a space where her and her body are unified. You know, it's usually we're working against our body, right? Or we're trying to do other things and not pay attention to our body because that's what we don't want to pay attention to because we don't have time for that, right? So just being able to be in peace and in harmony, like you said, embodiment to me means in my body, right? I'm observant, I'm in presence. Sensuality is like the smell of Kapal, right? It's like, you know, it's like the smell, you know, it reminds me of just like purity and like love and peace, right? When I think of like a good drink, right? I drink my water. I love how you're always talking about water, right? And the different frequencies of that, but I only drink out of a wine glass. I think it's like, gives a little added frequency to my day and it just brings me back to my body, you know? I just, I really found a place where I was so disconnected that I didn't know how to be intimate. I didn't know, like, I would just see a man and I'd be like, okay, well, that looks like fun. But then like, I would be in a space where there was no love. So I found a lot of men that I was very attracted to, had deep chemistry with. And in like 6 months, I'm like, I don't really like you. Who are you? You know? So I found these like draws in my intimacy. And as I got deeper into this work, it just really let me know how like much I was pushing love away, even though I really, really wanted intimacy from friends, from family, from, you know, partnerships. And again, like your body just doesn't lie. And that's just a place that you can always trust is going to tell you what you need and where you need to go. So it's a little bit of my path.
I love that. You know, like you said, there's like so many things I want to touch on. So like your body doesn't lie, right? Like whether we're conscious of it or not, like you can walk into a space and be like, oh, this feels like comfy, cozy to me. Like I like it, right? And your body's gonna like let you know. Or you can walk into a place and just kind of like feel like, I don't know, like this like sensation where you're not open, like you're like contracting in on yourself, and it's like your body's telling you like, hey, sirens are going off, there's something wrong in this space, there's something wrong with this person. So it doesn't lie to you if we're open to paying attention to it and open to receiving. And so I kind of want to take this conversation to like receiving a little bit more. You mentioned love and intimacy, and I think there's so many of us that are craving, you know, the connection, the love, the intimacy, but we're not open like in our body to receive it. Can you talk a little bit more about like how we can open ourselves up?
I love that so much because it's so true. I mean, you look at the dating scene, anybody posts about the dating scene and it's never a good post. It's always negative. So we already have negative, you know, like thought process as it is. So I always say like learning first to trust yourself. Right. And that's like that bodily trust. So many of us are so used to gaslighting ourselves and overriding how we feel for the comfort of others. That's like the definition of a woman, right? It's like, if I just be quiet, if I'm just a good girl, or I'm just, you know, out of the way, I'm not going to ask any questions, you know, I'm not going to offend anybody. It's literally the first time that we just start to swallow a little bit of ourselves. And if we keep doing that, we start to build resentment within ourselves. And then we just like snap at traffic, or we snap at the lady at Walmart and we're like, I don't know why that happened. And you're like, oh, I have this back, or I have this feeling in my heart that's really heavy, or like, I'm not feeling like myself. It's like you're carrying so much weight and you're carrying so much. And that's usually because you don't trust that what you say is of any validation or any value, you know? And that's where it really starts. It's like being able to acknowledge where you are holding stuff in your body, because emotions don't go away because you just stop thinking about it, right? They harness themselves, right? And we see it in like periods. Oh my gosh, your period is a vital sign, okay? If you have really hardcore like periods, it's like because you're harnessing so much emotion because it happens right there in the solar, and you're just like, it just wants you to get it out. And it doesn't have to mean like you like, you know, go smacking people around. It's just literally like, I need to scream. I love the sacred rage practices. I love just being able to shake it out somatically. And that's why I love sex too, because sex is a great place, especially for my kinky ladies, okay, that you can really anchor in to your body, right? There's a woman that I love. She really talks about like, when you're procrastinating, go spank yourself, you know? And it really cracks me up because it's like, if we could just take responsibility in a way that allows us to also feel pleasure and not like shame or judgment, it's like, no, you wouldn't talk to your niece or your best friend or your kids like, hey, you're procrastinating, you suck so bad, you're never gonna get it. You would never say that. You would find a way to motivate them. So why do we not treat ourselves with the same love and grace, you know? So really coming home to that body is like, ooh, okay, every time I talk to this person, or every time I go to the register, or every time I have this thing I'm supposed to be doing and I know that I'm not doing, where can I anchor into my body and let her speak from that space, and then figure out what's going on there instead of judging and causing so much more overwhelm and pressure that's unnecessary that causes us to spiral. So the first thing is like really trusting and being able to really tap in. The next thing I would say is, most women, the two things that's really hard for them to embody in the body is pleasure and play. Okay, like no woman's like, oh, if I say embody like depression, anxiety, it's like, oh, we got that, right? But if I say, go have some fun this weekend, I tell my clients like, get off your phones, go play, go like meet some people wherever you are, you know, just go listen to a random jazz concert, you know, whatever you got to do, just let it out. And they're like, I don't know what that is. Like, they're just not like, it's such a weird thing, but it's again, that thing that goes back into how much space are we allowing ourselves to receive? How much love are we allowing ourselves to open up to, like you said? Because if you're closed off to it, you can't receive it, obviously. And of course, what you're probably doing is overgiving, right? So if we're not receiving, we're overgiving, and we're snatching all of the ways that people love us away from them. We're like, oh, no, I can love myself. Thank you. But here you go. I want to love on you. They were like, I don't understand. I'm so depleted. Everybody just wants things from me. And I'm like, okay, but when's the last time you've received? And that's why, again, I love sex, because it teaches us to anchor into that receptive mode. Okay. So when we're allowing ourselves to be in a space where we feel raw, naked, and vulnerable, there's no place to hide. We have to be anchored into our receiving, unless we're just super resistant, and that's no fun. Right? And then play, you know, sex again is a place that we can play. It's like, we don't have to just like be so structured. I don't know what people grew up and they think like, oh, well, missionary is the only thing that's out there. It's like, no, there's levels and layers and fun and textiles and textures and food even. Like, oh my gosh, so many things to indulge in when it comes to sensuality. So why do we limit ourselves? That's where it comes. When women think of pleasure or fun, they think of like out of control or more, you know, they're like, no, like it's like, oh, too much. I don't want more, you know, but we have to remember that the more that we are able to receive in ourselves, the more space that we make, so that we can receive more of what we love and less of like what we don't love, you know?
Yes. So hearing like, you know, it's like our analytical mind is just like blocking here, rather than allow it. Like, you know, our body doesn't need, like, we don't need to tell ourselves to breathe, right? Our body knows what to do, right? And if we can just like let go of these thoughts, like I saw a video earlier where this lady was talking about how she was basically taught that she had to do everything. Like she was taught, you know, by her father that like she has to, you know how to take care of her car, know how to do this, know how to do that, because she has to be independent. She can't rely on anybody else. And while like it's not about like, oh, you know, that was a horrible traumatic experience for me, it's more about like she didn't know how to allow other people to help her. And she's realizing in this time, like, Oh, well, actually, I think I want like it would make me feel more connected if I could like just like receive help from somebody. If I could ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar, if I can like do these things. And it really, when we allow ourselves to kind of get out of that mindset of like shaming ourselves for leaning into our community, then we can allow for so much more love and intimacy and fun to come into our lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I used to be so shut down to women, so shut down to community. I thought same thing. Like I grew up with a mom who didn't really have time for friends, and the friends that she did have, they were really fun friends. So it was just like I'm better off with no friends, right? And so it was like a long journey to getting that uncovered and realizing that there are safe women. And when I started to believe that, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, wait, all women are not terrible. There's actually safe women. Like, and that's why I say, if you don't believe it, go find it. It's the best way to manifest something, right? If you're uncomfortable in your body and you feel all of these things in your body when the intimacy comes up, I invite you to, instead of just like sitting there and picking it apart and overanalyzing and overprocessing it, put yourself in an environment that you feel safe in, but you have to get a little intimate. And so I actually ended up at a retreat with my best friend. And I was like, I'm not going to cry. Like, who are these women? This is like, I'm here for you, right? I'm not going to cry. This is so weird. Like, why are you guys all crying and like holding it? Like, this is weird. Like, I literally had so many intimacy issues. Like, I couldn't even hug my own kids without feeling like awful. I would be like, this is like a little invasive, you know, but it was something I really wanted to work on. So of course, she challenged me to come to this retreat. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. You know, I've worked with women. I'm okay. I'll be okay. And by the end of it, I was hugging and crying and snotting. And these women were laying their hands on me. And I would never, oh my gosh, that would give me massive anxiety. Just the thought of it would be like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But it really put me in a space of vulnerability, and it just really allowed me to see how supported I actually am. And like when you find people in your life who anchor you into the presence of knowing that you're supported, like it opens you up to so many things. Like you're just like, whoa, what was I thinking to do it on my own? That was ridiculous. Like, you know, like that's what I think too. I'm like, oh, please help me. I tell my friends all the time now, I need help. Girl, I need help because I'm drowning here. Help me. And they're so happy to do so. And we receive and we give and we give and receive. But we also get to receive a gift that somebody like they're sowing into us. They're blessing, you know? And if we block that, we're not allowing them to be blessed. And we're also knocking out our blessing. So I just think that like when we really learn to receive in our body, whether it's just a compliment or somebody giving us like some really good wholesome food or somebody really just acknowledging us or really seeing us, like take that in and just allow yourself to sit there in that. And it was really uncomfortable for me. Even still, like sometimes I'm like, you guys, this is a lot. Like I tell my friends all the time, this is a lot. Porscha has to go and digest this because it's too much love. Like you guys, this is a lot of love, you know? But, you know, and baby steps. And that's why I say people who love you will communicate and they'll understand and take the process with you. But like, I couldn't imagine my life now if I didn't receive, if I just shut everything and everyone out, like, especially now, like it's really heavy, you know, collectively, and we all need each other. We all need to anchor into our hearts. And some of us are trying to walk this alone. And I think it's going to really bring people to understanding that like we were never meant to do it alone. We were meant to do it in unity. And women are so powerful together, like so much more powerful. We create massive impact and change when we anchor into one another and just realize that we're not here for perfection. We're here to call each other up, you know? It gets really beautiful. And then on the masculine aspect, right? Like in terms of like, I see so many women who are incredible women, but they make it so hard for themselves to be loved. And I was one of those. I was a classic runner, you know, I was like, oh, I'm gonna leave you before you leave me because I have abandonment wounds. No thanks. I'm gonna fall in love with you to this point. This is all I got, you know, like, whoa, I would run from the marriage every second I got marriage. Oh, no, that means you're going to trap me. No, thanks. You know, I realized that it was a really deep part of me that wanted to be held and wanted to receive from the masculine, but I just didn't know how to integrate it. I had never seen it. I'd never seen my mom No, my mom was afraid of commitment. My mom was like, hey, you're cool. Like, let's have a kid, get out. You know, my mom was not, she was not, I mean, the only marriage she had was like a very long time. It was 15 years, but he wasn't there. He was incarcerated. So that didn't count. So the reality of it is I've just never seen men as like this thing to have around. I just never did. And so learning how to receive through the feminine also helped me learn how to receive the masculine. And now I have really beautiful brothers that I love so deeply who help me integrate just the thought process around, you know, like, what does it feel like to be loved in a safe masculine space and all of those things. And I just feel like when we can receive in our body, first from ourselves with that trust, then we start to build that trust in other spaces and places that feel uncomfortable, but just bring us back to the reality of it is that safety is created within, and that we get to really, really lean into love without fear. And it's beautiful space to operate from love instead of fear, you know? It's such a beautiful space because you're just like, how do I bring this back to love? And you notice when you're being fearful, you know, fear never truly just wanders off and goes away, but you're like, okay, I'm operating out of fear. How can I bring this back to love? And I swear, it's like something I use all the time. Where am I not receiving this in my body, you know? Or even when people tell you compliments, just pay attention to how your body reacts, you know? If somebody just love bombs you, just like, oh my God, you're just the most amazing person. Do you just like crawl in a ball and you're like, oh, you know? Or somebody's like, oh, I just want to like pay for everything. And you're just like, do you feel obligated to now do something for that person? Or even with your spouse, right? Like all the list of things of what a good woman should be these days, you know, it's just like an ongoing list. Like, so you take that with you and now you feel like awful if, you know, the laundry isn't done or dinner isn't on the table at 5, you know? Like I was telling someone today, like there's just so much heaviness and pressure around how we're supposed to show up. And like, it's so confusing because it's so like on so many fences, you know? So just like find your path. But the only way that you'll understand that is if you go back to your source, which is yourself. So I can go on and on about that.
Oh, I love it. Yes. There's like, you know, the phrase like, don't should on yourself. I feel like that is like such like, it resonates so much because it's just like, okay, well, this is what society or I don't know, what they say, whoever they are, I should be doing. But what do I want to do? What feels good in my body? What makes me happy? What makes me laugh? Like that's like one of the things I'm like, if I am laughing, I know that like I'm in a good space.
Like, and I feel like spiritual women, especially, we get so excited about awakening, we get so excited about purpose that we forget to have fun. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, I understand that you're queen goddess, like Shiva of the world, but I need you to put that down for a second and go like do some bachata, you know, go eat some delicious food, listen to some cultural music, like just go allow yourself to go have fun, because we get to a space where healing, again, I love it as a purpose, but it is not my purpose. And we have to remember that we're here to experience luxurious things in luxury and this human experience. Like there's just so many things that I can think of the top of my head that we sometimes don't even recognize because we're not fully present. So if we just bring it back to presence and we allow ourselves to see all of it, man, it just becomes so beautiful. Like just so beautiful. And that's why I say, like, when we learn somatics, which again, like I like to talk about tools because I'm all about tangible things. One of my things is breath work, you guys. I know that like people hear that word and they're like, because I was for a long time. My friends are like, let's go to a breath work session. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like new to spirituality. I'm like, yeah, 3 hours. I was like, you guys, I can't even breathe anymore through the breath work. You know what I mean? I can't even breathe anymore. So I just really want you to understand that there's different levels and different spaces and different ways to do breath work. And my favorite is sensual breath work because it invites in the play. And it doesn't have to be like super crazy, because I know a lot of women, they hear sensual or they hear sexual and they're like, what did she just say? You know, hold on, here comes the pressure, perfection, and all of the performance. Put it down. It's literally just allowing a very simple breath. So it's very simple. All you have to do is like breathe in, and you're just going to take the vibration of your hum and bring it all the way down to your root chakra and then all the way up. So it goes As long as you can hold it. And it actually really helps just calm the nervous system, right? And you can practice that even before you get into intimacy, right? I love having before intimacy. Before and after care is a whole another conversation, whole other luxury, right? So being able to have your bath or your shower, getting your oils on, getting ready for your night, whatever, and just bring it back to that hum. And it's so simple, but it also, our vagus nerve is connected to our cervix. So when we hum, we're vibrating that beautiful cervix, creating circulation and blood flow and pleasure. And it's not that like, woo, not crazy, right? People here, sometimes they talk to people, they're like, okay, what is she going to suggest? But it really is using tools and things like this, especially like, I mean, you could be at Walmart, you could be at Target, you could be driving home and just like humming and just allowing your body just to reconnect, get back into your root. I just kind of envision like vibrations from music moving all the way down my chakras, you know, and just like, whew, okay, now I can make a decision, right? Another thing I love too about the body, and just like, again, super simple, like you said, water. I love having hot or cold water, right? Drink the water, let that water just run down your throat and your neck, and you're just like in your body. That feels like it seems so simple, right? But some people just drink their water. They don't even think anything of it. Just take a second, drink it, just get back in your body. What does that sensation feel like? What does it feel like to have that coldness or that warmth nurture or awaken you, right? Like just really taking that second for that 5-second pocket of luxury of recognizing like how beautiful it is to have that water or that tea or that coffee or whatever. It just, if you can't find gratitude, go grab your matcha and just drink it and be like, oh my God, this is my pocket of gratitude. You know, I hide chocolate in my closet too. That's another one. But like, I love cacao. Cacao is my favorite thing. So if I go in the closet, I'm a stay-at-home mom. My kid's being crazy. I just go in the closet, let the cacao melt on my tongue. I had 5 minutes of just calm. Okay, now I'm back. Now I'm ready back for the battlefield. You know, we have to have those moments of just returning back to our body, because everything can be so much in the subconscious that we forget like our body is always going to just hold it down for us if we can just show up for it, you know. And just a beautiful tiny little things, that pockets of pleasure that can just add up and they build up and we don't feel so heavy all day, you know.
I love it. And you said cacao and I'm like, ooh, let me take a sip, because this is like Fridays are like, I'm going to just drink cacao all day and just be in this like beautiful space while I'm getting my work done.
Oh, like everything too, right? You just feel like a goddess, you know, like go get your favorite oils and lotions, put that stuff on. What are we saving it for? It's for you. You know, I run around this house smelling like everything. I'm burning incense, I'm burning everything. Like it just really creates a vibe. And like you said, aesthetically, I'm so glad that you love my aesthetics, because we love working on those. But it really truly is like romancing my life, you know, like those little things, you know, just having those tiny little things that just make you like, I like it here, you know?
Yes.
I like it here, you know? So I love bringing it back to the body, bringing it back to breath, bringing it back to food. We always move through food so fast, you know, and it's just like taking a second. I know you love food like I do. Oh my God, so many flavors, so many things to explore, you know, drinks, all of that. Like, can you taste? I try my hardest to taste every part of the meal. Like, can I taste the nutmeg? Can I taste the pepper? Can I taste the turmeric? Can I taste it? Can I taste all of it? You know, especially like I've been really into Middle Eastern food lately. And everything is so herby, you know, and you can just literally just get those pockets of just herbs, and you're just like, whoa, that was an experience, instead of just like shoving things in my mouth, right? It's just like, I can taste that warmth of the curry, and ooh, that's that little note of garlic there, you know, just like, you just make it fun. And it's like 5 minutes of your day. I mean, probably more than that, because you probably eat all the time, right?
Right.
Got a question of like, okay, does my body want this water? Like starting to ask myself and connect more to myself too, because there was so much of what I didn't know that I didn't like, you know? Am I only liking this because somebody else suggested this for me? Or do I really want this water? Or maybe I want like something kombucha, something else, right? Or whatever. But like asking my body, like, do you actually want this? You know? And just really honoring some of those things. And I know it sounds like really wild to ask yourself like, okay, I'm in the grocery store. How do I ask myself? What if myself wants chocolate cake? You know, like who's probably thinking that? But I would say like the more that you ask her, right, or the more that you get connected to your body and realize like if I'm asking for cake or if my body wants ice cream, right, it's literally asking me myself to be nurtured a little bit more. Because as we know, like sweets has a direct connection to nurturing. So it's like, oh, I just need more love. I need to love myself a little bit more. So how can I love myself in a healthy way? Not to say that you can't have the cake, because there's just some days that you get the cake, but you know, me, if I buy a cake, I'm eating the whole thing. My kids know it. They know, they're like, oh, mom's having a day. She went and got a cake. She's gonna eat the whole thing, you know? But it just really lets me know. I'll sit there with that empty plate and I'll be like, okay, so maybe tomorrow we try loving myself a little bit more. Maybe I need to go have the sauna. Maybe I need to go out in nature. Maybe I need to go ground myself a little bit, you know? Like if I have a glass of wine compared to the bottle, I'm like, okay, no judgment, but hey, girl, you okay? Like, you all right? You just been sitting here drinking. I know this is good, but I don't know if it's that good, you know?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, hey, I see you. Hey, love, let me check in on you, you know? And that's why I say our food, the way that we hold ourselves, the way we hold our bodies. Do we rush from one situation to the next? You know, I always say women we're so used to not shoving our feelings, right? So, ooh, that hurt. And then you drive home thinking like, dang, how come I didn't say anything, right? You just swallowed it and you're just like, oh man, that didn't feel good, right? So just really recognizing that too also has an effect on the way that we trust ourselves and lean into our system. I mean, there's so many ways that I can think of that women go on a day-to-day basis just being disassociated from themselves. And when you come home to yourself, you just can't help but feel it all, right? You just can't help. You're like, oh, I feel all. You're like, what's wrong with you? I went to Walmart. I have to just like clear my system. I tell people all the time, every time I go outside, I have to just give me 10 minutes to come home and breathe. Cause like just the energy of being outside, feel it, you know? Or like when you meet someone and you just really love their energy and you start talking to them and you start conversating, and that's always a beautiful energy exchange. But I always go home and get my selenite and get grounded, you know, from being outside or being in a lot of energy. It's all energy. So it's just really recognizing that your body is never going to lie to you, and to lead with her, and you will find a whole other world, like a whole other world of receiving and giving and just being able to sense and be connected. Like that's what you said, ultimately, we all want to be connected to each other, right? But we have to be present to do that. Yes. Okay. We think about 80 other things when we're supposed to be right here with each other, you know, and we do it. We all do it, and we're all guilty. But the more that we can be aware, the more that we allow ourselves to experience the luxuries of being here with ourselves, you know?
Yes. So beautiful. Yes. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you would love to share with our audience today?
You know, I would say, if I could say one thing that I feel that most women need to hear is, don't ever forget about the importance of self. You know, like I know that it might be extra time that it may take for you to love on you or to come home to your body, or it may feel very frustrating process because some of us have been so disconnected. And be patient with yourself, but don't forget about yourself. Always come back to you. Like put yourself as a priority, because everything stems from here and your whole life will change. Like it's miraculous, as I'm sure you've experienced. I've seen such a shift in you even this last year, but you're putting yourself first, and it's like, what was I thinking? Right? I was trying to do it backwards. I was trying to go from them to me, but it really comes back to like you, and that's what flows. So that's what I would say.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that. It like so resonates. I always say, you know, we have to fill our cup, but not even just fill it. I love to have the idea of like, my cup is overflowing. So when I am giving, like, it is like, there's no struggle. There's no, like, I am not sacrificing in order to give of myself to somebody else. It feels so good to put myself first. We put so much responsibility on ourselves, that we can wear responsibility as a badge, but like, does it bring, like, is it bringing us joy? Is it bringing us love? Is it bringing us money? Like, probably, like, yeah, we can push to get more money, sure, but what if we just like allow it to show up for ourselves?
It's one of my friends, her name's Austin Renee. She said a lot of women don't understand that they actually can get paid to exist. And I was like, whoo. And it just hit me because I was like, wait, you could get paid to exist. And it's like literally living in your biggest authenticity, in your biggest and your highest, actually is going to be like funding a space where you can just truly thrive. Like, it's just a crazy concept. But so many, like you said, so many women feel like we have to work, or work hard, or be responsible, and da-da-da-da. And it's consistent. Consistency is part of divine feminine, right? Like if you think of Mother Nature and flow, but it's consistently in flow, right? Not consistently out of order. It's not unorganized. It's not all over the place. Mother Nature is very distinctive. Even though we may not understand what she's doing, she has a very clear pattern to what she's got going on. But it's consistent, you know, in its inconsistency. But the flow is really what we really look for. And a lot of times we're so just trying to attack and trying to survive, and we're trying to understand, and we're trying to get to a goal, or we're trying to, you know, do whatever it is. And we're forgetting like the flow, the consistent flow of things, you know, like crazy concept to think that something can just flow to you, but it does all the time.
Oh yeah.
If you really think about it, ladies, it really does. Okay. It really just flows to you. And if you just like welcome it a little bit more, you just be like, all of a sudden things will just start happening. Like I was at the self-parking the other day, and I totally forgot my wallet because my child takes my wallet out of my purse. And I'm sitting there, it's like $1 million because it's Las Vegas. And I just like pushed the button so I could get my ticket back, so I could figure out how I could do this. And the thing just opens, and I'm like, oh, sweet. God said yes. Didn't want to keep me here any longer.
I love it. Oh,
like parking spaces, you know, I had somebody give me a pumpkin. They're like, oh, they're like, I had this extra pumpkin. I was like, sweet, you know, like, sure. Just welcome it in. If I find a dime, I find a penny, I'm like, yes, like more abundance, right? It's just being happy in the space that you are and accepting where you are and just acknowledging all of it, but just receiving, man. Just, again, there's no badge for doing it all by yourself. There's no badge for being overly responsible or being overly, you know, disciplined and constructed and domesticated. There's no award for that, you know? And I feel like our ancestors and our moms and our aunts, they've all paid that price, you know? Thinking about my nanas and stuff, like all they did was clean and cook, and they did all that, you know, that's all they did. You know, they had big visions and purpose, but I imagine like if they didn't have all that extra pressure, like who they could have be, like, you know. Oh, yeah. And so like they've already done all that for us to be in a space where we can just mellow out and connect and be in a space of like ease, flow, soft.
I'm here for the soft life.
Yeah, right. It's like, woo, like we've already done the hard, especially, you know, our lineage and where we come from. Like they've cleared such a path, you know, and it's like they didn't clear a path so that we're still like hard and struggling and, you know, just bottling up all our emotions. And, you know, I just think of the women that I come from, and I just can't imagine, you know, they didn't have what we have experience, and they fought for that, so I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, they fought for us to be able to have Zoom calls and talk about all the things. They fought for us to you know, be able to walk down streets and go into beautiful restaurants and eat beautiful food and have beautiful communion, and, you know, so it's just like, let's take advantage in the best way, you know, the best way.
A whole new world, a whole new timeline, I feel like. So like, yeah, it's time to like live our best lives.
I can imagine if my Nana had TikTok, she would have been like Joel Osteen. Like she'd be running 100 miles an hour with the things that we have access to, you know. She just would, you know. I'm thinking about, like, you know, we weren't even allowed to be certain places and spaces. And, now we don't have the same type of thoughts. I mean, yeah, there's still some things out there, but at least it's a space where, beautiful restaurants. Like I walked into waterfront restaurant here and at the Wynn. The Wynn's my favorite restaurant, favorite place. I love the Wynn. I don't know what it is. I just love it. And it screams like if I had a house and I could just put everything in a house and just clear out all the casino stuff, the carpet, the chandeliers, like the red velvet roof, like I'm just in love. And, just be able to walk into places like that, that our people couldn't do that. And not have scrutiny, be getting the ultimate service, getting the best treatment, people opening doors for you. I remember I went to it was just like a regular, they were having a champagne day in the middle of the Forum shop. So we just walked in and they're just like, here you are, queen. And I was like, yes, oh my God, it's like the best feeling. It's like, I came in here to park my car, but this is amazing. Like those little things, like we have to be so excited about, and just like allowing ourselves to receive all of it. And why not? Like why not?
There's no reason not to. We are the only ones keeping ourselves from receiving it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that's one of the biggest things, just receive as much as you can, little, small, big, and just celebrate it as it is, if it comes in, just celebrate it and sit in it. Don't think about, oh, what's next, or, oh, this could go this way. Just sit there.
Boy, celebrate it. Love it. Oh, thank you. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. How can people connect with you and be in your energy?
Well, I'm everywhere, but Instagram is Porscha, PORCHA_Newton, like Isaac Newton. Or Porscha Newton on Facebook. I have a free community. There's always something going on. We have different retreats and stuff. The retreat that we're having in January is our most sensual and luxurious experience. It is one that we did last year. It's called Her Majesty. It's all about the Queen. But it's really, really tapping into that primal sensation that a lot of women, because they are so stuck in perfectionism or how it's going to look or all of those other things, we really step them out of that and step them into a space where they can appreciate and accept everything that they see and really express their sensuality in a way that's of their authenticity and not what, like, everybody loves Meg Thee Stallion. I love her, but that's not your sexuality, I love Cardi B, but that's not my sexuality. I love watching a woman express it, but the reality of it is like, who are you in that space? Because that's what creation starts, right? So it's just really, really important that we know our power and our sovereignty and our own expression. So it's a fun one.
Obsessed. I will definitely put links in the description of this video and have people connect with you that are ready to receive. And anything else before we hop off for us today?
No, that's it, I think.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Porscha. For those watching, listening, please subscribe and like, share for those who aren't already subscribed. And I hope you guys have a magical day. Bye.